And we're going to review our half-standing vinyasa. So just stay seated for a moment, because I want to review for you what we did. And then we'll do it together as a class. So remember, we came to standing in Tadasana. Remember, in Tadasana, your feet can either be together or they can be hip-width apart. And how do you know which group you're in? If you've got tight hamstrings, tight glutes, lower back, pregnant, whatever, you might stay with your feet hip-width apart. Just try to keep them parallel to each other. Don't fall into the natural habit some of you may have of turning your feet out. Fewer of you may have a habit of turning in. It can happen, but it's less common. Those of you who choose to stand with your feet together, the toes are together, the heels are together, a little gap between the ankle bones, and that little gap is an indication of whether or not you're pronating or supinating. And so we try to find that balance in between. And then we spin the thumbs away from, we start to lengthen the front of the body into Tadasana, mountain pose. And then inhale, we raise the arms up to Urdhva Hastasana. And then we exhale forward into Uttanasana. Now remember, some of you here might bend your knees. All I ask is that if you bend your knees, try to come back to straightening the knees, okay? If you cannot easily reach the floor, then I encourage you to come down to blocks, even if you're up on your fingertips, just so it takes some of the weight off of the back, right? So the torso and the head have a little something to support them, so that the back can release a little bit. And then from here, so typically Uttanasana, we tuck the chin and we turn to look at our knees or our belly button. But look, if you're not going there, then just tuck your chin to get the stretch in the back. Okay, whether your fingertips are here or even if you're on the blocks, you'll be up here. And then we do halfway lift, where we inhale, halfway lift. Halfway lift is really just lifting the chin and the chest, lengthening the spine a little bit. For some of you, that's up fingertips up here. Some of you, it's fingers there. Some of you, it's fingertips there. Try not to crane your neck too far back. We still want to try and keep the spine nice and long. It's just really looking at the floor in front of you. And then exhale, we take the forward bend. And then from here, inhale all the way up. Strong in the legs. Exhale, arms down. Back to Tadasana. Right? So we're going to do that 3 times. And then we're going to get to full Surya Namaskara A, which is full sun salutation. So come on up to standing. If you think you need your blocks, have your blocks in front of you. There you go. Okay, so I probably didn't mention this last time. It's a good practice to start towards the front of your mat, because the rest of the sun salutation moves to the back of the mat. So we always start towards the front so that we can step towards the back later on, okay? All right, now decide if you're staying feet hip-width apart or feet together. Spreading the toes, strong in the front of the legs, spinning the thumbs away from you. Inhale, raise the arms up. And then exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift, gazing at the floor in front of you. Exhale, forward bend, tucking the chin. Soft behind the knees, pull from the hips as you raise yourself back up to Urdhva Hastasana. And then exhale, arms down, Tadasana. All right, when you're ready, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, forward bend. Inhale, all the way up. Exhale, arms down. All right, taking one more on your own. When you're ready, don't be afraid. Inhale, arms up. Keep going. Why don't you step out and see if that's her? Oh, wait. Someone just walked in. Beautiful. All right. And so the idea is that with practice, you start to develop your own rhythm, right? Because right now I'm cueing you when to breathe. I'm telling you when to inhale, when to exhale. And hopefully with practice, you'll start to find that out on your own and what works for you, right? All right, so now from here, let me show you what happens to the rest of the sun salutation. And it's probably better if you see it from the side. So from there, When you're in Uttanasana, we do a halfway lift, and then we hop or step back to a high plank position. We lower down to a low plank position. We roll over the toes. We push up to a back bend, and then we roll back over the toes for downward facing dog. Okay, what I'm going to show you today is a gentler version of that. Okay? And then next class, I'll show you the harder stuff. Okay? All right, so come on down to your knees. So the first one we're going to work on is the plank, Phalakasana. Actually, in some styles, it's called Kumbhakasana, but anyway, different strokes for different folks. So, the plank is the alignment from the ears through the shoulders, through the hips, to the heels. I intentionally left the knees out. Why? Because you can bring the knees down and still have that same alignment from the ears, through the shoulders, to the hips, to the heels. So take a moment. So wrists are right under the shoulders. Take a moment and figure out, are you a knees up or a knees down person? Okay. Now, and check in with your bum. Is your bum higher than it should be? It's hard to get a sense for where that line is, and it just kind of comes with practice. Don't wear yourself out now. We still got plenty to do. So come on down to your knees, take a rest. Now that you know how heavy you are and how much work it takes to hold plank, we're going to add on to that by going down to low plank. Now, low plank is called Chaturanga Dandasana. Come on down to sitting. You can just sit back onto your heels. The tricky thing about Chaturanga Dandasana is we're only there for a short amount of time, basically on an exhale, and then we come straight back out. So as a teacher, there's not a lot I can say about it because we're not there for very long. But what also happens is a lot of students just rush right through it. And I have a lot of respect for these postures, right? I've been practicing them for a long time. I feel like that's almost disrespectful to the pose. So we want to take the time to really slow things down into that pose. One of the tricky things about this pose is what it does to the shoulder joint. So even where you're sitting, go ahead and bring your elbows to your ribs and try and bring your forearms parallel to the floor as if and squeeze the ribs into, squeeze your elbows into your ribs. Okay? That's where we want to go for low plank. Some of you will have a tendency to want to go lower because holding this is hard. It requires a lot of tricep work to try and hold here at elbow height. And so some of you will go further forward, and what happens when you go further forward, you're just hanging on this joint, stretching it out, which is kind of okay the first few times, but if you do a lot of yoga over and over again, eventually you start stretching the tendons and ligaments in there, and you start creating a bit of damage. So we want to try to be strong and safe, keeping the joint stable where it is, into the low plank. Now, to give you a sense for what this pose feels like, I'd like everyone to take these blocks actually to their highest height. Place your hands, the wrists under the shoulders. The blocks are on the inside. And I want you to try and lower your shoulders down on those blocks. Walk your legs back a little bit if you need to. In fact, you could kind of stretch the legs out. You could come up onto your toes if you like. Try the plank. But you can rest. Look, I'm picking my hands up. I am resting on the blocks. Okay? So that's where we want the blocks to be. We want the blocks to be right under the shoulders. Strong in the belly. Okay? But that's about where our plank needs to go. Okay? Now, don't worry. I know some of you are like, Jen, I can't hold the plank. That's okay. I'm going to give you options too. But if you never work on the plank, then you'll never do the plank. So I want to give you a few little tricks and things that you can play with so that you can build up towards doing that plank at some stage, even if it's not today, okay? All right. So from here, I'm going to give you another little trick you can play with. And that's what the belt was for. So we made a loop with our belt. Now, shoulder width is armpit to armpit. We want the loop to be a little bigger than that. So this belt is now almost going behind my armpit. So we want the belt to be a little wider than shoulder width. And it's going to go above your elbows. Okay? All right. Try to move the buckle away from the center of your chest because it's going to poke you. So find a little place where that buckle is sort of out of the way. For women, you need to move this belt below the girls. Okay? So it needs to go right around your bra line right there. Okay? Pulling the elbows back. Start to get into that plank position. That's too tight, Miguel. We want it down here by the elbows. Right above your elbows. Okay? Let me show you what we're going to do with this belt. Okay? We are going to go into the plank and we're going to hang there. Okay? This belt will support you as you hang there in plank. Again, knees up or down. Okay? So if your belt is too tight, your elbows won't come to where they need to go. That's it. Yeah, Kelly. Yeah. It's a little awkward trying to get it into position, but it gives you a sense for how low to go in your plank. And you can rest on the belt. Some of you have got it. Some of you are still trying to sort out, where does this belt go? Up or down? I don't know. But some of you can get the belt right under there and rest on it. That's it. All right. Just some things to play with. You do your best with what you got. Yeah? Okay. Now, what if you can't do the plank? You come down to your belly. But I want to just point out a couple things about coming down to your belly. We still want to try and hold the plank as we come down to the belly. Sorry, just give me a sec. And so when you lower down to your belly, make sure that you're not coming down like a caterpillar. Okay? That when you lower down, you're still lowering down in a plank position. Sure. Okay? So let me show you what I mean. Even with the knees down, right? So this is your plank, knees down. I still want you to try and hold that plank as you come down to your belly. Okay? So as opposed to rolling down, doing break dancing. Okay? All right. So let's all give it a try. Even those of you who can hold plank, I'd like you to try to come down to your belly. So keeping the wrists under the shoulders, walk the knees back as far as you can comfortably get them. Okay, the knees are down. The feet are about hip width apart. Knees are about hip width apart. Spin your inner elbows towards me, towards the front of the room. Reason being, this is meant to be a tricep push-up, not that kind of push-up. Okay? So we want to try and have the middle fingers parallel to each other. And we want to try and keep the elbows over the wrists as we lower down to the belly. So give it a few goes. Coming up and going down. Try to stay strong in that belly, pulling the belly button in as you push up and down. All right. So there's your plank. Yeah? And for those of you who are like, Jen, I'm pretty strong, do it without your knees on the floor. See if you can lower down. Knees up, off the floor. Okay? All right. It's a tricep push-up. But in yoga, we call it Chaturanga Dandasana. Now, true Chaturanga Dandasana is holding the low plank at elbow height. We don't go down to the belly. We stay there. Okay? So that's the difference. So you decide if you want to give that a go. We'll play with that tomorrow as well, though. All right, now from lowering down to your belly, because we're going to do the gentlest options today, we're going to come up into a gentle back bend. So you've lowered down to your belly, so everyone come on down. Tuck the thumbs under the ribs, squeeze the elbows back. The feet, again, are about hip-width apart. Lifting your chin and chest. You're already in a back bend, okay? You can stay here. This can be your back bend. This is already squeezing the shoulder blades together. It's already stretching the front of the chest, stretching across the front of the shoulders, the pecs, strengthening the back. Those of you who want to go a little higher into Bhujangasana, Bhujangasana is cobra. We start to lift the ribs off the floor. Those of you who are really happy in back bends might get the belly button off the floor, but keep the elbows back, squeezing the rib cage. Those of you who want to go a little higher, you go a little higher, but not all of us are there. What I want you to avoid is hanging between the shoulders, okay? We want to be strong in the arms, pulling the chest forward as we go up into Bhujangasana, okay? All right, now from Bhujangasana, we will go into what's called Adho Mukha Virasana. And this is a gentler option that I give to people who have mobility issues, are pregnant, have headaches, high blood pressure, things like that. So we're all going to take these options today. So from your back bend, you go toes together, knees apart, sitting back on your heels, reaching the arms forward, resting the head down. If the head does not easily get to the floor, then maybe you place a block under your forehead. Now, this pose is meant to be active. I know in some classes they call it child's pose, but in yoga, child's pose is actually balasana, it's something else. So I want your arms to be active in this posture. So reaching the hands forward, spreading the fingers. Try and keep the wrists and elbows lifted off the floor. And rest the head down. Now, if you're having any shoulder pain doing this, bring the elbows down, bring the forearms down, let them rest, okay? Because for some of us, reaching the arms forward in that position can cause an impingement up around the shoulder joint. So Anahatasana, the difference is, so Adho Mukha Virasana, you're sitting back on the heels. Anahatasana, the hips are over the knees, the feet are hip-width apart, and we rest the head forward. Now, what happens there, for some people, that stretch under the arms is too much. And so they're not very happy in Anahatasana. You can lessen it by maybe resting your head on a block and not going into the back bend. So notice how, ouch, there's a back bend there. For some of you, you might hold a little bit straighter. So you might pull the belly in, keeping the spine a little straighter, resting like that. Some of you can't get your head down, so you might rest your head on a block. And so then your posture looks more like that, which is okay, because what we're going for is this, what's happening here in the side body. So it's okay that your head doesn't go that far, or maybe it goes down to that block. So give Anahatasana a try. Knees are hip-width apart, feet are hip-width apart, and your knees are at 90 degrees. So your femur bones are perpendicular to the floor, and you try and rest your head down and reach the arms forward. Try and keep the tops of your feet in contact with the floor behind you. Sometimes the feet want to come up in this posture. Anahata is the heart chakra, in Sanskrit. So this is about letting the heart, surrendering the heart down to the earth. Now some of you can feel now, is that good or bad on your shoulders? If it doesn't feel so good, you could bring the elbows down, rest the forearms down, and take it a little gentler. Or you can move back into Adho Mukha Virasana with the toes together, sitting on your heels. Okay, so those are your two options. All right. Now we're going to try to string that together in a sequence. We're going to do this first with Adho Mukha Virasana, and this is going to be as gentle a sun salutation as I can make it. We'll do it about 2 or 3 times. And then I'm going to offer you more challenging options with Anahatasana, the one you just did. Okay? So we're not doing downward facing dog, which is this guy. We're not doing that one. We'll do that next class, because I can spend almost a whole class talking about that pose. And yeah, so we'll do that next time. So come on up to standing. We'll take this first sun salutation quite slowly. And then we'll pick up the pace a little bit, okay? All right, so either standing with your feet hip-width apart or standing with your feet together. Rolling the shoulders back, stretching across the front of the chest, spinning the thumbs away from you. And then inhale, gazing up at your thumbs, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana, gazing at your knees or tucking your chin to see your belly button. Inhale, halfway lift, looking at the floor in front of you. Now place the hands firmly down on the mat, and I mean the whole palm, not just thumb and index finger. The whole palm down on the floor. As you step back into the high plank position, everyone's going to come down onto their knees. Keep the elbows in close to the ribs. Try to hold that plank as you lower down to your belly. Roll the shoulders back. Relax the feet. You can point the toes a little bit. Lifting the chin and the chest. Decide if you want to go a little higher. Inhale as you push up. And then on the exhale, we push back into Adho Mukha Virasana. So toes together, knees apart. Sitting back on your heels. Resting the head down. And we stay here for 3 to 5 breaths. But for the sake of time, we're just going to hold for 1 more breath. And then coming up to all fours, bring your right leg to the front, then the left leg to the front. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend, letting the head hang, neck is soft. A little soft behind the knees. Raise the arms up with the inhale. And then exhale, Tadasana. Okay? So that's 1 sun salutation. And pretty gentle. Okay? So when you're ready, we're going to do 2 more, slightly faster pace. Why faster? Not because I'm trying to rush you, but because we're trying to connect the movements with the breath. Okay? So there we go. When you're ready, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, stepping back to high plank. We'll hold the knees down, taking an inhale to prepare. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Relax the feet. Inhale as you push up. And then exhale as you press back. Toes together, knees apart. Adho Mukha Virasana. Holding there for a couple of steady breaths. And then inhale, coming back up to all fours. Maybe swap legs, bring the left foot to the front, then the right leg. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Soft behind the knees, pull from the hips as you raise yourself up. Exhale, Tadasana. Again, inhale, Urdhva Hastasana, gazing upwards. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Phalakasana, stepping back to high plank. Knees down. When you're ready, on the exhale, lower down to your belly. Keep the elbows in close to the rib cage. Inhale, pushing up, Bhujangasana. Exhale, Adho Mukha Virasana. Spreading the fingers, reaching the arms a little further if you can. Taking an inhale there. When you're ready, exhale, start to come up. Bring your right foot to the front, then the left foot. On your next inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, forward bend. Soft behind the knees. Pull from the hips as you raise yourself up. Exhale, arms down. All right, now we're going to try to take it up a notch. A little more challenging. But if that level was just right for you, then you stay at that level. Okay? So you can always take the easier options. You always have a choice. But we still start in Tadasana, in mountain pose. Inhale up to Urdhva. Exhale, forward bend, Uttanasana. Remember, try to keep the knees straight. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, stepping back to high plank. Knees come down again, but this time I'm going to challenge you by asking you to only come down to elbow height. Remember those blocks under the shoulders. Imagine that those blocks are there supporting you. And then inhale, push up to your back bend. And then this time we're going to go to Anahatasana. So the knees are hip width apart, the feet are hip width apart. The hips stay over the knees as you walk the hands forward, resting the head down. If you need to go back to Adho Mukha Virasana, sitting on your heels, then take the hips back to the heels, toes together. But if you like Anahatasana, then stay there. If you cannot easily rest your head on the floor, maybe place a block under your head. If this is uncomfortable for your shoulders, then bring the elbows down to the floor. Give yourself a little bit of support. Remember, knees and feet are hip width apart, and we try to keep the tops of the feet in contact with the floor. It's all tricky. Someone asked me today in the other class, is this perfect? And I couldn't tell her no, because what's perfect is what's right for you. So it's important not to worry about what everyone else's poses look like. Just focus on your posture and what feels right to you. And then that's what's perfect. Okay, now from here, bring the hands back under the shoulders, stepping the left foot to the front, then the right foot to the front. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Soft behind the knees, pull from the hips. Urdhva. Exhale, Tadasana. All right, we're going to do that 2 more times, a little faster. So when you're ready, inhale, Urdhva. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hop or step back to Phalakasana. Knees down, but try to lower down to elbow height. Squeeze the elbows in. Inhale, push up to the back bend. Exhale, knees and feet hip width apart. As you move back into Anahatasana. So we want to try and keep the hips over the knees. So can you, bring your hips slightly forward. There you go. Our natural tendency is to try and take the hips back. But this is good preparation for downward facing dog, and that's the pose we're going to work on next week. Because in downward facing dog, we're working on this lengthening from the hips to the wrists. And so we're working on stretching the body there. And so this posture does that too. Now when you're ready, take an inhale as you start to move up to all fours, bringing the hands under the shoulders. Exhale as you start to move to the front of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Soft behind the knees. Inhale, Urdhva Sthasana. Exhale, Tadasana. All right, last one. Inhale, Urdhva Sthasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hop or step back to high plank. Knees down. Squeeze the elbows in. Exhale as you press down to elbow height. Inhale, pushing up to the back bend. Exhale, pressing back into Anahatasana. Hips over the knees. Feet and knees hip width apart. Resting the head down if you can. If you feel like your toes are coming close to each other, try to take the feet apart. And if you feel like too much weight is coming forward, work more on pushing the front of the mat away. So give your arms a little bit of strength to help support the weight that's coming forward. And then taking an inhale there. Exhale as you start to move on to all fours, wrists below the shoulders. And then moving one foot to the front and then the other foot. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward bend. Soft behind the knees, pull from the hips as you raise yourself up. And then exhale, arms down. All right, from here, we have a few minutes for Shavasana. But I'd like to try something a little different for Shavasana. And it would be wonderful if everyone could have either a blanket or a bolster. So hopefully your blanket, go and open it up to halfway. And then fold it into quarters. So it's like this. Pat, your blanket needs to be folded the other way. No. Spin it around. That way. Now fold it in half. No. It needs to be skinny. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Then from there it goes in half and quarters. Now we're going to do a Z fold. The reason we do a Z fold is so that it's nice and flat and it's not a roll. So a Z fold, basically, go ahead and sit down just so you can see. The Z fold, you pick up a third of the blanket and Z fold it over the last third so that you get a Z fold like that. I know some of you have bolsters, so that's all right. I'm going to give you guys something else. Okay, from here, this blanket and the bolsters as well are going to go along your spine. However, some of you, when you lie down, your head is going to tip back because you've got tight shoulders or you have overdeveloped trapezius and shoulders and your chin goes back. So I would like, for some of you, probably most of you actually, but to place a block also at the end so that your head will be a little bit higher. Now when you sit down, you sit off of the blanket or the bolster. You don't sit on it. Hang on, Miguel. Okay? And then, if you want a little more something, you might place, some of you brought towels or blankets, you might place a blanket or a towel there under your head. And then when you're ready, lie down. But just make sure you're not sitting on the blanket. Okay, so you sit off of the blanket. Yep, no, you stay there. I'm moving it away from you because the blanket's not quite long enough. Go ahead and lie down. Yeah, this blanket's barely long enough for you. You okay? Is anyone uncomfortable? Oh, hang on. I'm going to fix that one. No, that's all right. I know. It's okay. Place that there. See how that goes. Yeah?
Right.
It's okay. It's all right. Now, the reason I like this setup is because it encourages us to pull the shoulders back and stretch across the front of the chest. And when we do that, the diaphragm, which is the big muscle across your belly, can move. We can breathe more deeply. So as you're lying there, bring your awareness to your breath and try to breathe down into the belly. Now the air doesn't go down into the belly, the air stays in the lungs. But when we expand the lungs, then the belly rises and falls because of the diaphragm. Now we often think about our chest as rising and falling as we breathe. I want you to think about your chest widening left and right as well. So not just breathing up and down, but breathing left and right in 4 directions. Now notice with each breath, as you inhale, there's effort on the expansion. On the exhale, release that effort. Let the chest sink. Let the spine sink down into the support. So the spine becomes heavier with each breath. The shoulders roll back a little more with each exhale. The head feels a little heavier with each breath. Now, before we come out of Shavasana, keeping your eyes closed, start to bring some gentle movement into your hands and your feet, your fingers and toes. And then when you're ready to come up, bend your knees and roll to your right side. Resting there on your side for a moment. Now roll over a little further onto the right arm. Use both arms to help push yourself up to sitting and come to a comfortable seated position. If you need to sit on the blocks or sit on the bolster, the blanket, that's fine. Sitting up nice and tall. And again, trying to hold on to that image of breathing in 4 directions, not just up here in the top of the chest, but also here in the lower ribs, going wide as you inhale. And then if you like, bringing the palms together. Namaste. All right. Thank you, everyone.